Hey, this is Alex ROSAMILIA. I play guitar in the Gaslight Anthem.
Beautiful, Alex. Thanks for joining us this morning, our time, this evening, your time.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure, bro. So, the Gaslight Anthem returned to Australia in just a matter of weeks, bro, as part of the Good Things 2024 festival. So, are you packed and ready to go yet?
No. I'd like to say yes, but no. I'll be doing that last minute as per usual.
I suppose you do that much traveling that you probably would leave things to the last minute, eh? 'Cause you pretty much know what
Yeah,
you're going
sometimes I just leave them in the bag for the next one, but there was too much time in between this and the last.
to. Yeah. And this is going to be your first visit in almost a decade, mate. So, what's changed with the
Yeah.
band in that time?
What's changed for what?
With the band.
I mean, aside from almost getting married and having kids and starting family, I'd say that's probably the biggest change, but I'd say it's a pretty big change to have. Um, it's yeah, it's crazy to think it's been 10 years since we've been over there, but I mean, kind of haven't done anything in 10 years up until recently. So it's just nice to get back at it again. I am excited to get back over there to the land down under.
Yeah,
I always have a good time when I find myself over there.
sweet. And as we say, you're part of Good Things, mate, which is a massive festival starting in Melbourne on December 6th before hitting Sydney and
Hmm.
Brisbane over consecutive days. So, how do you prepare mentally and physically for a run of shows like that so far from home?
I mean, it's a matter of the the song bit. I'll put like all of Gaslight stuff on a playlist and then hit shuffle and to do like pop quiz to kind of like prepare myself before we like leave for tour. That's how I prepare like musically outside of like practicing. As goofy as that might sound. And then I have like I don't know. I guess I do have some, I don't call it like ritualistic things that like people like, make sure I see my parents and all that good stuff before I get on a, 37-hour flight. Um, and then yeah, make sure all my things are charged before I get on the plane.
True that. And you're going to be appearing alongside bands like Korn, Sum 41, Billy Corgan, Mastodon, Kerry King, heaps more, mate. But is there anyone on the bill that you haven't played with before?
Um, well, I mean, yeah, we've never played with Corn before.
Right.
Not that I think there would be a moment for that outside of a festival. Oddly enough, they were one of the first bands I ever saw live. So that's pretty like in a pretty like personally speaking, as a you know, it's cool for me to see like be on a festival with a band that was like the second band I ever saw live. They opened for Ozzy Osbourne,
Wow.
and oh gosh, I don't want to date myself, but it was like it was the early to mid '90s, we'll say. Well,
That's
it
not
wasn't even mid to late '90s. It was early to mid '90s.
a...
Yeah, and it was like seeing that show. It was like part of the catalyst. It was like this is what I need to do with my life. You know, and now we're on a festival with one of the bands, which is pretty. Like I said, it's pretty. I think that's pretty cool. Well, there's a bunch of other bands that I like just enjoy watching anyway, and to do these Australian festivals where it's like you're doing the same festival more than one day, as opposed to when you're doing European ones and it's like every day is a different festival with a different lineup. This is like I have a chance to actually be able to see everybody, which I think is really cool too.
As a musician, mate, like, did you ever actually like let that sink in? Like what you just said then, bro, like Korn was the second band you ever saw live, and now you're
Right.
playing with them. Like, does that ever like just like smack you out of nowhere and make you just sort of go like, fuck me, life's pretty good.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's kind of like it is. It's a very surreal, I'd say, experience. My father told me when I was a kid, I think kind of jokingly that you're getting older when musicians and athletes are younger than you. And because ended up a musician, I kind of lost the chat, but I can't really tell that anymore. And so it's like to be considered like I don't want to say peers, but to end up on the do the thing that like, you watched so many people do, be lucky enough to be able to do it yourself is something that like, I will never take for granted, especially coming back from this hiatus.
Betcha. And you've also got three headlining shows of your own before Good Things, with dates in Brisbane
Hmm.
December 2nd, Sydney the 3rd, and Melbourne on the 4th, mate. So how are those shows going to differ to the Good Things shows?
Well, like we're gonna definitely like well, obviously we'll have more time for the set to kind of like play more songs, and it'll be more of a, I don't want to say a dynamic experience per se, but like, there'll be more ups and downs, whereas the festival kind of atmosphere, you want to keep the momentum going, and it would be more of like an upbeat type of a thing, does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does completely.
Not that anything's been like ironed out, we usually don't even write our set list till the day of, so you know that could all get thrown by the wayside when the day actually shows up, but usually that's what we end up
Yeah.
doing.
You played a lot of shows over the years, mate, but have you ever had a show where you just weren't feeling it before hitting the stage? And if so, how did you turn it around so that you could go out there and put on a good show?
um so I like to kind of bounce off what I was saying before, it's like something that I don't take for granted. uh there are days obviously where you're on the road and things aren't going great, whether it be like what's happening a million miles away at home, or just like, you just hit the wall being on the road for as long as you have. But the the second you go out on stage, it's almost not even for you anymore, right? You're there to do, not to get like too woo woo and philosophical about things, but like, uh to get in a little bit of a tangent, I heard Tom Petty once say magic is the last, or music is the last form of magic left on earth. And I do kind of stand by that and believe that. And so like to go out there to perform, you have to make sure you're giving it what it needs to make the magic happen. Otherwise, it falls short. And I think it's very apparent when that's uh, uh, happens at a show. The fans see that way easier than I think some artists let on.
Good
Uh,
answer.
you know,
Yeah.
did that make sense? Was that too all
Great
over the
answer, mate.
place for an answer? Can you edit
Perfect.
that one into more of a concise?
No, mate, I love it just the way it is, mate. It came across beautifully.
All right, cool.
So, for the benefit of those that might not have seen the Gaslight Anthem before, mate, like, what can we expect from your live show?
Um, well, I'd say, it's a pretty high energy show. We like to have a good time. It's not We're not like a huge production thing. We don't have like flamethrowers and fireworks and confetti cannons. That could be kind of fun, I guess. But we've always kind of like, the part the as we've gotten older and kind of branched out, we people think we were like not as punk as we used to be, and I think where we still really hold on to the punk part most is like the way we are live, where we're kind of just, we're playing the songs, we're having a good time, where we're getting you guys excited, but not in like a um pre-planned theatric kind of a way. I mean, that stuff is great. I'm not saying that stuff isn't cool, but that's just not like what we do as a band. Our thing is more of like, you came to have a good time, so let's have a good time.
So
Yeah.
just say someone's heading along to Good Things, mate, and they haven't really heard much of the Gaslight Anthem before. Give us three of your songs that they can listen to get an idea of what to expect.
Sure. Let's see. Let's give you the newest one, which is like the Billie Eilish cover we've been doing, Ocean Eyes. Um, I think even though it's not our song, I think it's pretty stands pretty true to like what we sound like, as far as the energy and stuff, but I think it holds on to that pretty well. Um, I would say, for a classic, but without being too obvious, you know, everyone would obviously, I think, go to either like one of the numbers, 45 or 59 sound. But I think Miles Davis, I think, kind of shows more of what the band is as a band from that era. And then you know, let's think. We'll do as a third one, um, show you how like I'd say delicate we can be. We'll do another newer one with Michigan 1975.
Beautiful. So
How's that?
that's
That's pretty good
perfect.
three song.
That'll do. And you mentioned
Cool.
the new songs in there, bro. Then your most recent album was actually History Books, which came out last year. So
Hmm.
how was that received? Did it go across the way you hoped?
I think how do I would say in a way yes, and in a way not exactly. We attempted to do this one on our own, and that ended up with a couple. Like instead of like being on a label, we did like a deal through 30 Tigers, which was awesome, and it gave us a lot of freedom. But there was a couple other things that I don't think we were prepared for when you don't have as many people pushing your product, as it were, when it comes out as you usually do. But all hiccups I think we managed to get over in a timely fashion. And I love the record. I think it's great. But at this point, it's been over a year now, and I don't like sitting on stuff for too long. So I know we're already itching to get on to the next thing.
Very good. And that was the band's first album together in almost 10 years after disbanding in 2015, mate. So was it chemistry and cohesion there straight away, or did you have to work at getting it back?
Um, I would say that it was there the chemistry was there, but we had a it was there, but we had to like look for it. Like we weren't sure if it was there, but it was. But like without us knowing it was there. Does that make sense?
All right, in a roundabout fashion.
We were all, I think, a bit apprehensive at first, but like, is this gonna even work? Like, are we gonna be able to pull this off? And then the second we started playing together, it was like, oh, yeah, of course this is gonna work. Why were we even gonna doubt that? You know?
Sure. Now, before we get on to the next bit, mate, I'll just double check and make sure. Can you see the visuals on your phone, or are you just on audio at the moment?
No, I could see you've got quite the background going on there. Yeah.
Right, that background's just about to change, mate, because I've started a new segment called Photo Bomb, where basically I'll troll
Okay.
social media before I chat with you and pick out a couple of photos that I want to know more about. So the first
Oh
one
God.
I'll show
All
you.
right, let's have at it.
I've got this one.
No worries.
What do you what
Yeah.
putting you in the water for a photo shoot?
So these were like the pictures we took when we decided to announce us coming back. There's one of like where it was like the after Brian told joke, and it's like the picture has me laughing pretty hard in it that we ended up using as like the photo from this session. I guess this would be like a behind the scenes. This is actually Benny's backyard.
Alrighty, it doesn't look like he's enjoying being in the water too much.
Well, yeah, I mean it's a little wet to say the least, but it was a good time. It wasn't too bad. We had wellies on. It wasn't like we weren't getting that wet. Didn't want to go out too far deep.
No, you got alligators and stuff over there, haven't you?
No, not well, my dad's in Florida and they got some there, but not in New Jersey.
Right. All right, Alex. Well, thanks for your time today, mate. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. The Gaslight Anthem in Australia for Good Things Festival with side shows a
Hmm?
few days beforehand. So check out your socials and grab yourself a ticket. Otherwise, we'll see you at Good Things.